Hey, Village fam! You're back with two Village girls for another episode of Honest Conversations. I'm Serena.
And I'm Angie.
As we continue talking about growth and change from the lenses of childcare workers, this week we'll be telling you about family mental health.
Yeah, y'all know mental health important to us. We always talk about mental health, y'all, but this time we're talking about mental health and like just the family itself. And we also are big on family as well. So
Mhm.
family mental health is very important to us. So we're gonna start by talking. We're gonna start by just talking about like just like open communication and what do you mean by that, sis?
Well, I mean, picture a time where you felt like, picture a time where you felt like there was something you wanted to talk about, but didn't know how to approach that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Okay.
creating like a foundation where we're not afraid to like bring up these like weird topics.
Okay. I get you.
So like um growing up in foster care, there was only one family member, like one foster parent I had that I felt like I could talk to when I was going through something
Mm-hmm.
and she wouldn't judge me.
Yeah.
So like I was sexually active at a young age
Mm-hmm.
and of course it's frowned upon in
Yeah.
all of society
Trust.
because younger like teenagers shouldn't be out there or promiscuous at that point. But so, like, having gone through a bad relationship and a bad breakup and being like taunted and threatened by the guy
Mm-hmm.
in high school, and being able to go home and tell my foster parent that this was going on and that I needed help and I didn't feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
So having like that open communication, knowing um, that no matter what I do, I won't be judged or necessarily punished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
That's true.
and understanding that like children go through things and we're still learning and taking these moments as like teaching moments
Yeah.
instead of like shame or discipline off the bat.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's what happens most of the time. Sometimes parents like um I don't want to say get like caught up in like disciplining and trying to um just trying to like correct the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Um but they don't like actually discuss
Yeah,
like what why that behavior even occurred in the first place. They just jump right to consequences. Let's
mm-hmm.
do it.
Sometimes.
Yeah, so like she said, it's important. Like yeah, to start teaching and instead of like she said, teaching instead of shaming or teaching instead of discipline or teaching and discipline. Like you can do both. Like we're not saying don't discipline your child because children need discipline, but at least teach them what they did wrong so they can like change it and or know why not to do it again, basically.
Absolutely.
But yeah, when you said think about like a time when you wanted to go tell somebody something or just your parent or anything,
Mm-hmm.
my grandmother raised me and like she was I want to say she was very strict and stuff. So I don't feel like she was open. So anything that we was going through, we probably would not like just go to her. Like we just lost our virginity or whatever. We was young, but we lost our virginity and some. We couldn't go to grandma and be like, we just did this. How? What should I do now? What do I do now? What about this? Or how things. Sometimes people took advantage of me. I couldn't go to my grandma. Oh, this guy just did this to me because like yeah.
It's very
I
true.
just feel like she was a parent that was just hard on and just basically I don't want to say straightforward. I'm not even going to say mean. I'm just going to say she's just very
Mm-hmm.
straightforward and discipline was what she was about,
Yeah.
making sure that we were good kids.
Without that open communication, um, it leaves children in possibly like unsafe situations, like not being able to talk about sex or depression
Mhm.
or um, like anger or just like those big feelings and big experiences that we as younger kids or teenagers don't really know how to process. Um, and that usually takes a toll on us
Mm-hmm.
and it builds into possibly like dangerous habits or lifestyle changes that could easily be prevented or at least managed with a proper communication and proper education from a parent or guardian.
Yeah, communication always important. I feel like being open in like a family sense is different kind of to me, but I feel like it's only different because open communication wasn't used when I was a child. But like
Mhm.
in the future, when I start my family, of course I'ma always be open. I'ma always like daily be like, y'all know y'all can come talk to me when if anything is going, y'all know y'all can talk to me. Anything. Like I'ma just make sure that they know because I want my children to be able to come to me if anything.
Absolutely. And with that comes respect and responsibility.
Hmm. Okay, so as like in family members, we all play out like different roles. We all have our different responsibilities. We all have our, I want to say different lives, but same lives in the same household.
Yeah.
But it's like we all have our different expectations for each other as well. So first, we want to talk about like our expectations as a parent, and what I mean basically by that is like in a family setting, what do the children like expect from a parent? And basically those little expectation is feed them, love them, support them. Mommy and daddy probably have to go to work and come back home, so they have to work to make give us money. I mean, not work to give us money, but work to make money for us to make a living. That's their responsibilities. They probably have to take me to daycare. They have to take me to school. They have to spend time with me. Those are like little expectations that you can that a child would expect from their parent or whatever.
Absolutely. This is something that actually like I've seen talk about like expectations and like comparing like to a black household to
Um,
like different other races and how
yeah,
like in a black household or a lot of people say that the big difference in a black household is we're expected to grow up and like start helping out and providing for the household as
mm,
well as a even though we're teenagers or children still. On the flip side, the basic expectations that parents have for children are to um, learn, really. A lot of it is learning and growing
yeah,
and being safe. And
yeah. There's a very few like expectations from a child because what can you but like what much can you do as a child other than like learn, grow, play, and be the best like person you can be for real.
yeah, like
Um,
those age appropriate expectations. At some point, you've got to clean your room,
yeah, those.
start doing chores.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go to school. Um, but other than that,
Yeah, and I feel like these expectations is what lead to some of the like um I don't want to say bad things, but some of the things like family members might fuss about or family members might just get into it about because um for example like sometimes there's one parent in the household and it might get hard for that parent, and that parent may have to go out and work like maybe two jobs or something like that, and they can't afford a babysitter, so they now get their older child to watch the younger child because they have to work. And that's when those expectations start to shift because now instead of like the child expecting a parent to be a parent, the child is now seeing that they are parenting now. Like they have that role now to be taking care of the child while mom is away at work or
mm-hmm.
something like that.
Yeah,
And then that's the responsibilities is what like make things hard or make challenges come in that family household.
yeah, they it starts taking a toll on the child
Hmm.
because now they're playing a child's role and a parent role.
Yeah, so now they have both roles in the household when they only supposed to have that child role.
Hmm.
But at the same time, we're not blaming the parent. We're just saying like these expectations, these responsibilities really take a toll on family, family
Hmm.
health, family mental health, family um, bonds.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna get into sibling rivalry because I know there's a lot of that going on in family household as well. Um, but yeah, a lot of these expectations can get in the way of like having that good like family system going on.
Absolutely. So when we say sibling rivalries, we're talking about those strained relationships between siblings due to things happening inside the home. Um,
Mm.
Whether that's like a lack of communication, comparing siblings is a big one. Um, like Angie was saying earlier, having a child help raise a sibling while they're doing like schoolwork or while they're still growing and learning for themselves. I really want to dive into the comparing of siblings because that on its own causes a big strain because now it's almost like we as siblings are competing with each other for like that affection from the parents. Fortunately, I didn't have a lot of like sibling rivalry with that. I wasn't compared to my um, sisters, but we were bunched together a lot, which caused a lot of like lack of individuality. We grew up together in foster care, so often we were referred to as the girls instead of as our like by our names.
Mhm.
Um, so it's important to embrace like each child as themselves instead of bunching them together or comparing them to each other because
Yeah.
we still have to grow up together and live together. And we like nobody wants to be compared to anybody else or bunched in with anybody else. We all want to be our own person and are proud to be our own person.
Yeah. I agree. I have a lot of siblings, but like I'm very very close with my siblings. Like we have like we probably have our like disagreements, but it's really over things that isn't big. But with just like comparing children, I really do not like that because like when you're building your children like we say we're a village, we're building our village, building our children, building ourselves or whatever. When you're building your child, like you treat them like if you have more than one child, you would treat them separately, like discipline them separately,
Mm-hmm.
um and handle them separately. Like Serena was saying, like don't bunch them up in like one room because they all have their different different personalities. They gonna handle things differently. Like
Mm-hmm.
you might I don't know, you might think you funny making jokes. The one child might laugh, but your other two they might not laugh. They might not think you're funny. I don't know. They're
Mm-hmm.
different. So like stop. I mean, I want to say stop comparing children because I know a lot of people don't do it, but comparing your children to like your other children is really bad because you expect great from all of them. So if everybody is doing great, everybody needs to be celebrated, you know.
Absolutely.
But me for sibling rivalry, I feel like a lot of the times just come from being together all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I don't know. I feel like little things. Like we just might fight over little things. Like, why you eat my ice cream? Or something like that. Something
True.
like that. I feel like civil rivalry isn't like a huge like problem in like family in a family setting, but it's also important to talk about because I feel like at the end of the day your siblings are like should be like your go-to because they grew up with you, they know you, they
Mm-hmm.
live with you since you was like young.
Yeah.
So I feel like they the ones who really know you. And I guess I'm a little biased because I'm really close to my siblings and I love them to death. And yeah, if we have a problem, I feel like we talk about it.
Yeah.
My older sister, whenever we like have like disagreement between each other, she'll always be like, all right, y'all, we gonna sit down and talk about this one. Like we gonna have to talk about it, because at the end of the day, like we got our mom and our dad, but it's just like siblings is a different type of relationship for real.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Bond I have with my sisters is like no other. No
Hmm.
one can come between me and my sisters.
For
No one.
sure. For sure. But I think sibling rivalry all still it's just all stems from love. I just feel like it does. Like I feel like the comparing thing is like the biggest one.
Hmm.
Like cuz kids can see if they're being treated differently than um older Susan or something like that. Cuz you know how a lot of people say that like their their first child they was very strict on, but you know that younger child they're very like they did not had
Right.
to go through the stuff that the older child had went through, because they already, I guess the parent already experienced it, they already know, so they're more like relaxed with that child.
Yeah.
But
I
that just all comes from the parents, and like parents start to like get more, once they have that first child, is about more like trial and error. They just start to learn what to do and what not to do, for real, for real.
well, absolutely. They get comfortable and they're just like, oh, she's fine.
Yeah.
She's
And
okay.
like the older child might see that and they just might be like, man, that's not fair. You get to go out tonight, and when I was that age, I could not go out the house. They'd
Hmm.
just be like that. But I don't feel like it would be
Yep.
like a big fight thing. But
But they peep that.
yeah, they do. They really do.
It's important to the best of your ability to try and like keep those kids on the same level, especially if they're at an age like obviously like an
Mm-hmm.
infant
Yeah.
and like a 5 year old are two different ages.
True.
But like if they're like 5 and 6, 6 and 7, like closer in age,
Yeah.
they pick up on that stuff.
Absolutely, girl. They really do. Toxic relatives are like relatives that are like just causes drama all the time. Um, just interfere with like daily living, and that can be like um addicts. Sometimes addicts are, we have them in our family.
Yeah. In these situations, a lot of times we hear that it's important to keep the peace with these relatives. Um, I'm sure you've seen Angie, like all these talks about um, why are we teaching kids to go like put on extra clothes when their uncles or whatever are coming over.
uh
Although I've always had mixed feelings about that, but like for the purposes of this, like those like if we're worried about those uncles and grandfathers or whoever coming over
mm,
and making our daughters like put on extra clothes,
yeah,
like should those people be coming around the house? Like having those important conversations with those relatives and letting them know that like what's expected from them when entering your home,
yeah,
um and what's considered like appropriate or expected behavior, like basically like setting ground rules.
yeah,
Because
basically.
to me, like in keeping the peace, it's not about keeping the peace within the family, but keeping the peace within my household, within my
Mm-hmm.
um surroundings.
Yeah,
So,
and that's
and
important.
yeah, it's much more important to take care of family needs than it is to take care of like
It's more important to take care of your family needs in your household than
mhm,
like your family that's your extended family that's not living with you and stuff like that. Because
absolutely.
we all have our grow up and have our own families. Those families that you started on your own,
Mhm.
that's where that's where it's important for you to step in and make sure that there's peace there, because you have to go back home and live there. Your child has to come home and live there, and you want it to be a place, an environment where they love to be, for real. They want to come home because it's peaceful there. They want to come home because they know mommy and daddy are, I don't know, are going to be there protecting me,
Yeah,
um, loving me, like things like that.
absolutely. Um, in keeping that peace, it also teaches your child that it teaches your child not to tolerate things that make them uncomfortable. It teaches them
Mhm.
that they are able to speak out against even other family
Yep.
members if there's something dangerous or unsafe going on.
Mhm.
Um, and that's important, especially in like today's society. Like we're seeing a lot of cases where children are being like abused by people that they know.
Yeah.
So
That's
teaching them like even in your household, you are allowed to speak up against anybody,
yeah.
anybody in your household, anybody
Anybody.
in the world. Nobody gets an exception.
Yeah. And that's just the environment you have to create for that child so
Mhm.
they know that they can come to you.
Plus, it's your own peace. Imagine having to
Mhm.
sit in your home and feeling obligated to invite people that, like family, friends, whoever it is, into your home, knowing
Yeah.
that their habits or whatever bother
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
and having to just sit quietly. Like that's not fair to you,
Not at all.
and it's not fair. Like your kids will pick up on that and
Mhm.
know that, oh, they'll know that this person makes mom and dad uncomfortable or my parents guardians uncomfortable.
Right.
um and then we get into like stepping in for a child, whether it's your child or a child in the family, um to keep them safe, being that safe relative for them, being that goes along the same lines as like inviting people that you don't necessarily trust into your home, being
Mhm.
able to step in and say, hey, like you need to back away from this child, or you need to keep those habits away from my child. um yeah. So I've got a question for you, Angie.
Mhm.
So based on like all these different things we talked about with like family mental health, um and just everything we've learned growing up, do you feel prepared to have kids? Like, have you learned to, do you feel like you've learned, not necessarily enough because we are always learning, but do you think that these kinds of things have helped you in preparing for future families?
Mm, of course, I feel like everything I've been through in in this sense, in this topic wise, has
Mm-hmm.
helped me like prepare for a family, or like I am feel like I do feel like I learned a lot and know enough to be able to like start and create my own family and be able to like have, yeah, what I learned and use those different things in my family household, and learning those things that I know didn't work
Mm-hmm.
in the family that I was raised in, and not using them in my family that I have. I'm gonna use what I learned. And also like with building your family, it's still gonna be a learning process. While you're building your family, you're still gonna learn a lot. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna do a lot more.
Yeah.
I just looking for traditions, starting a lot of different traditions with my family that I start. That's all I'm really looking forward to. Some traditions. Um,
That's exciting.
Cause like with my grandmother, um, we always had Christmas dinner at her house, and we always had Thanksgiving dinner at her house, and
Mm-hmm.
that was a tradition. Everybody know Christmas time we come into grandma's house, or Thanksgiving time we going to grandma's house because that was like a tradition. Like grandma really instilled like traditions into me, and that's something I would take into my family. Those little things I would really take into my let's into starting my own family. So yeah,
Wow,
I feel like I learned a lot, and I know I'm
that's
ready.
exciting.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I feel like I've seen a lot of what works and what doesn't work for
Mhm.
me. Um, Plus all the like education and background
Oh yeah, I
and
forgot about that.
working with kids myself, like
Mhm.
seeing like what I do. I feel like a big part of working with kids, and then like a big part of like doing this podcast even, is like
Yeah.
we talk a lot about what we've learned, but like putting it into practice and seeing what actually works and what doesn't work, um, and what's easier said than done. Like
Yeah.
that positive talk with children, um, it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of repetition and
Mm-hmm.
waiting to see how they react after having the conversation. Um,
Yeah.
but it's worth doing, even if it's more time consuming than discipline would be.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth doing if it means that long term they figure it out and they're
Yeah.
able to like instill that in their daily living
Mm-hmm. I
and
agree.
with their peers.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, when it comes to family, it's important to know your family should be your lifeline. Um, and it's important to nurture your family as such and do what it takes to make sure that your family is healthy and safe. And it's important to do what you need to do to keep your foundation strong.
Absolutely. And one thing I'm gonna mention before we end, because we we always stress this. You can always go to therapy because your whole family can sit in front of a therapist and
Mm-hmm.
y'all can talk. If like if those situations really are that serious for y'all to like need to sit down and talk to somebody else, therapy is always like, now I'm not gonna say always I'll go to, but like we always encourage you guys to go to therapy because therapy works. Having somebody else, like having another professional come in to help you guys live a better life, be happier as a family, come to start connecting as a family. It's just such a, I don't know, it's just such a great thing to see, to be honest. Like anybody, I know a lot of black families probably don't really do therapy, but trust, therapy is out there, y'all. It's out
Mm-hmm.
here for us to use, and I would use it. You want a
Absolutely.
better family household? You just go on.
Absolutely. 100% support it.
Yeah.
Live it, love it. There's a therapist out there for you.
You, your family, your child.
Yep.
It don't even have to be the whole family. If it's just like a child,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the child is going through some things, I don't know, and it's putting a toll on the family. Get that child some help.
Mm-hmm. There's
That's all.
resources out there
A lot of different resources for your child, for you.
for the whole family.
Yeah. So, thanks for tuning in again to another episode with Two Village Girls. Please subscribe to our channel if you're new. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them down below. Also, go ahead and hit that bell to get notified when new videos drop. Please check out our Facebook and Instagram at Two Village Girls for updates and weekly inspiration. As always, we want to send you out with some positive vibes to get you through the rest of your week. This week's inspirational quote is by one of our therapists that we learned in college. His name is Eric Erickson, and he says, "Life doesn't make any sense without interdependence. We need each other, and the sooner we learn that, the better for all of us." Thanks, Villa fam. Bye.
Bye.